Right, the moon. All right. The moon can be a really perplexing card, right? And so when we look at the moon, we see a lot of things that are going on there, as in for our three creatures down there, all right? And it's a card where people say, well, I'm not really sure how I'm going to be able to read this. Well, seriously, it's actually a really lovely card, and it comes up more and more and more in readings than you would perhaps imagine. So if you've ever felt lost in the dark and unsure of your path, this is a card which will help you dive into the mysteries of the moon card. And this is your guide to being able to navigate uncertainty and uncovering hidden truths. Okay, so I am aware that people are not able to sort of find this, and I'm just recording it no matter what. It's all I can actually do. Okay, I'm live. I am live at the moment, and I know that people can't find me. I've got Zoe finding me, saying she can hear me now. I'm in YouTube. Okay, and we've got sound. So let's do the best that we can. Thank you very much. Hopefully it's starting to register now that people are coming on. It does take a while, I'm sorry, it's just not linked. I had to come back in and do the best that I can. All right, so this is a card of diving into the mysteries of the moon card, and so your guide to navigating uncertainty and uncovering hidden truths. And if you don't know who I am, my name's Anne-Marie, so welcome to the Tarot Corner of the Internet. I'm passionate about helping you unlock the wisdom of the cards. So the moon card is perplexing, isn't it? But it holds immense power for self-understanding. So what could that mean? Well, the moon card's core meanings are quite simply that it's a card of being given guidance, but that is about the work that you're doing inside of yourself. Okay, so we're going to try and unravel the symbolism and learn how to make it work for you. It's about illusions and uncertainties. That's one of its core meanings. And the moon represents the world of dreams, the subconscious, and things that aren't as they seem. So it whispers about hidden fears, illusions, and the parts of us that we push into the shadows. It's also about your intuition and your inner knowing. But within this darkness lies a very deep well. I've heard that one before, haven't you? Okay. And the moon encourages us to trust our own intuition and our inner compass, especially with external guidance. External guidance is a little unreliable, you see. So what I want to say is the moon is part of us where we are looking at going within ourselves to see how we feel about the outside world. So when you've got the moon, whether it's in astrology or whether it's in tarot, you are connecting to that deep part of yourself that would tell you how you are dealing with the forces from the outside, i.e. the external forces. So this is a card that invites you to examine those parts of yourself that we often prefer to ignore, and the hidden motivations that drive us. It's all about bringing around...
YouTube or Facebook?
Right, bear with me for 1 second, folks. I'm going to play this.
There's no stand, I've tried all of them.
So I'm being told that people can't find us, but there isn't much I can do about it. I'm sorry, we have people watching. Can you give me a thumbs up if you are able to watch this, okay? So, the moon in practice is about journaling. And so the next time you pull the moon card, you need to grab your journal and write a few things down. The kind of things you might need to want to ask is, what am I afraid to see? What illusions do I need to realize? What is the powerful reflection that's going on inside of me, deep inside of me? So if you're ready to go deeper, the moon signals a great time for looking at that part of yourself, okay? Thanks very much. Zoe, can you actually send a message to Tony and tell him that we are actually on YouTube? He seems to be combusting that I had to come out. I can't put the same titles on that I put on earlier. That was all done as much as I could. And, you can watch it later if you can't watch the live. I'm sorry about that. I did say there's been a few problems. And if microphone's not working, there's not much point. So thanks, everyone. Yeah, I'm on As the Answer. I'm in Tarot with Anne-Marie, my page. I can see all of that. So thanks. Zoe, if you'd be so kind, I'd really appreciate that you just let him know that it is there and maybe send him the link. So we're going to gently explore the sides of ourselves that may have been repressed. That's what the moon's about. And we look at how we integrate that for more wholeness. So you can always use visualization with this card. How do you do that? Just imagine walking yourself along the path in a moonlit evening. And what would it feel like? And if you haven't got the moon and you are in the dark, it feels scary, doesn't it? You know, the moon highlights the points of what we can see and how we actually face our fears. So it can be confusing, it can be overwhelming, but it suggests a part of ourselves that's kind of sitting there in the fog, as it were. And anxieties can be really sort of out of proportion. We can feel overwhelmed with the unclear information. The moon sends us into our fears, you see, and it's a direct call to confront what's scaring you. And sometimes we can get a lot of mixed messages. So there's a need for clarity to be able to look at that information before we make decisions. And on Tuesday's class, I'll be showing you how to fuse the cards together using just the moon card and some of the 56 Minor Arcana cards. So that's how you'll be able to do it. So the moon's associated with the number 18, and it's often linked to deception and misunderstanding. The number 1 within the 18 is the self, the drive, the creative energy, me, power, the input. And the number 8 is about being able to move forwards and make progress. The number 8 contains 2 4s. 4 plus 4 is 8. And that can actually be about consolidation and growth. So it's one of those cards that if we added it all together, 1 plus 8 would be 9, i.e. 18, yeah? And that would bring us back to the Hermit, okay? And when we're looking at the moon card, it's linking with the Hermit, just like astrology does. And so we can only find the answers that we're looking for if we are being inspired and if we withdraw from things and if we go on to make that type of progress. 18 presents, there's no sound. Okay. I'm being told there is no sound. Okay. Everything seems to be working. Okay. I've got sound here. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm doing the best I can. Okay, so Pisces and Neptune govern the moon, but some people actually like to associate it with Cancer. Why? Because Cancerians are ruled by the moon. But in actual fact, this is a card that really works towards Pisces. And so the card depicts a large moon, and there's those crayfish coming out and emerging from the water. And there's a dog and a wolf howling at the moon. And the moon card can have a profound impact on our emotions, causing us to feel challenged and to be looking within. It can unsettle us, it can lead to stress, it can lead to doubt, and it can lead to anxieties. And there's a long-standing belief that the moon is associated with mental illness, because it's thought that its gravitational pull on the Earth's tides, because the moon controls the tides, creates that movement and affects the brain's fluids. So that results in abnormal, strange and altered behaviour. So it's said that the moon can be a card that actually can shift our perspective and leave us with a bit of a distorted view of reality and what's causing the confusion. That can make us want to actually hide and bury our head in the sand and give us a lack of clarity. Without the light of the sun our sight becomes unclear. So that's why we feel the way we do when the moon is around us. We're looking in the shadows and we're losing touch with reality. So we're wandering around, all confused. And the face in the moon, as in the tarot card, asks for us to actually look. Thanks, Tony. It makes us feel dazed, but the face in the moon has his eyes as if in contemplation. And the Rider-Waite deck in the picture of tarot writes the expression on the face for stillness, peace, and to calm our instincts, and to eliminate the mental chaos that we're experiencing. So the image of the cards showing that face leaning towards the left, which indicates the confusion created by the moon. So it's influencing our logical thinking. And therefore we need to comprehend more of our intuitive side and go with those messages to receive it in a much better way. That's because we must be accurate and free from all of the content that's outside of us. We must go within. And the profile view of the face of the moon can be a bit of, bring about some self-deception, as it were. The moon card advises us not to trust anything at face value and to wait until its influence has passed, so not to make any big decisions based on when the moon's around us, because it's distorted. We're not seeing things in a logical, crystal clear sense. We're dealing with our emotional self. Zoe, you're an absolute star. Okay. Bear with me. Right, Zoe, I need to make you a moderator, don't I? I can't really do that while I'm sort of here. Oh, bless you. I'm so sorry. There was no point going ahead without sound, and with the rain, pretty difficult. All this is jarring. I pressed that button a couple of minutes ago, and it wasn't coming in, and there's a delay because obviously the title that I've sent out for tonight's feed isn't corresponding with when I came out and came back in. I knew it was going to be a bad one. It's been all week. Mercury in retrograde is how it's felt to me all week, but I don't think we're there just yet. I think it's a case of we're leading up to it, and I am having a week of it. Everything to do with communication, technology, you name it. It's all been a bit like, why bother? Just go with the flow. So I've just gone, yeah, okay, here's what it is. Yeah, our network's playing up. We had a new network installed, and it goes on. All my graphics disappeared. I just had a green screen. I've got this spinning ball on my Mac, and so how can I do a show for you when I can't control anything? That's only me. Oh, bless you, Zoe. That's the kind of help that I really appreciate. So, girls, if I was in YouTube, I would make both of you moderators. If you don't mind, I'll do that. All it means is you can actually help people out in the same way as we are. So there you go. Right. So grateful to you, Zoe, and thank you very much, Passionate Saji, for coming back in. All right, you'll be able to watch the bits that you may have missed on the replay. That'll be up probably on Saturday. I'll try and cut it as much as I can so that we get rid of all the technical things that were happening. So it's possible to make a lot of false decisions based on our intuition, leading to irrational behaviour. Thank you for the like there. There are 32, so this is, you haven't missed anything. You know there's the crayfish, you know how it affects you, so don't worry too much, Passionate Saji. There are 32 spiky beams of moonlight with 16 rays on the inner circle and 16 more on the outer circle. Okay, you've been a moderator before, fantastic, so that's going to work really well for us. Thank you very, very much indeed. Okay, right, so the 32 spiky beams that are associated with this card and the 16 rays on the inner circle of it and there's 16 more on the outer circle if you look at that, okay? Having two options can be really overwhelming because 16 is associated with the Tower card in Tarot. Think about that, 32, okay? But we've got 16 in the inner circle and 16 on the outer circle, and the number 16 is the Tower. And so the Tower is caution against building a tower based on things that will collapse because the foundations are not stable. The tower you build will be fine, but it's built on sand or a swamp. Think of it like that. So don't make decisions when you are having the moon card affecting you, especially if it comes up in your physical self, your emotional self, and so on, okay? So yeah, it could collapse if we are building decisions. So that's where those rays are quite important for us to go, okay, you know what, it could collapse, we're not seeing everything. And there are 15 yods falling from the moon. They're drops of light, symbolic of grace and blessings. And within this card, there is an opportunity to learn. I actually really like this card. We shouldn't follow our rambling minds, but we should acknowledge our intuition, our fears and our darker side. And that's why I like this card, because it's a time for actually going, how am I being influenced? How am I processing outside? And as I said, look at what I'm saying to you. It's been a week of things going wrong beyond my control. So still do what I've got to do, but it's beyond my control. Don't try and do what you can't do. Wait. It'll pass, and then you can get going. Yes, you fix. You don't sit there and go, oh, I'm not going to bother, but you don't start something else or something new when you are in a place where you are being affected. And the moon's fluctuations tend to lead us into the unknown, affecting our emotions and our mental states. And the moon pulls at the depth of our human nature, and it can take us into places that we don't like. That we fear, that we dread, and it impacts on our mental state and our emotional well-being. So for example, let's say you were taking a walk in the dark at night, and you walk that walk during the day and you feel absolutely fine. Everything's good, everything's dandy, and then you have to walk home in the dark and you are kind of going, oh my gosh, what's going to leap out of the bushes? You know, am I safe? Should I have done this? Should I have actually waited and had a friend take me home or got a cab? Or should I have left before the darkness came in? And to think there's nothing that's going to jump out at you would probably be a bit foolish, but your mind can start to go into this could happen. You know, the scenario can actually start getting that you are starting to get really scared now, thinking, there's footsteps behind me, what's that rustling in the bushes? Probably a cat, but you can't be sure it's a cat. You can't say, oh, it's just a cat, can you? Because what if it's not? You see? So if you think of it, that's how you're being triggered, okay? And the moon pulls at the depths of our nature. So it makes us irrational, as if nothing can be entirely grasped. So it's like, what I've just described to you is when we've been affected by the moon, we've been triggered by things, and we are going, this could happen, that could happen, what's next, and this, and expecting all the bad stuff. But at the same time, you're not being impartial, and you are not able to have the pleasure of hearing what will drown out that confusion. So best to do nothing. Best to actually go, what's going on with me? Why am I feeling like this? Remember, the moon is a reflection of what you're feeling about outside. So quite often people, you know, I had a call this week and somebody said to me, right, I want to get my peace of mind back. How am I going to do that? And it's like, you've got so much going on at the moment. Having your peace of mind and trying to read a book and relax when you've really got to be thinking about how you're going to fight your corner at work, because it's so important that you do. You've got to win this battle, because in actual fact you're right. You're not going to get that peace of mind. It's not the right time for that. You know, it's a bit delusional to think you would. Oh, but I wanted to relax, so I was ready. Well, no, it's a time for looking at yourself and going, you know, what am I picking up on that person? You know, if you like, no disrespect to somebody, but, you know, what's their persona, what's their personality, and, you know, if it was a jungle and we were all animals and you're a cat, what animal are they? That's when the moon's sort of triggering you, and in a good way, where you've got to look deep within and go, what do I need to know about how to deal with this? Sometimes you can't have your peace of mind. Sometimes it's there for a reason. And so, you know, 48 hours, this person has dealt with the situation, but, you know, I didn't want to hear that, but there's no point saying, oh yeah, you'll be fine. It's like, no, it's time for going within. It's a time for using your hunches and your psychic ability, and you need to connect within it. And so it allows us, our instincts, that will actually make us go, gosh, that's a bit dark of me. Well, maybe it needs to be. You know, maybe it doesn't. But that's for you to actually let those feelings be thought about, to accept how it's affecting you in your well-being. And it can bring up our old fears and worries we've tried to bury in the past. But it's a bit like poking a stick around in a swamp. You know, what's going to come up? And that is a difficult time, because your intuition and your negative thinking are probably holding you back. The two are clashing. Therefore, don't make decisions until a situation has passed and you've got a clearer perspective. Beginners reading this card might find it challenging to interpret a tarot reading where the moon card is present because of the confusion it can represent. Just look at it that, you know, all is not crystal clear. Now is probably a time where you're all mixed up. That will pass, okay? When? Well, you know, I talked to you about the courses where I can teach you when. There's a lot of different methods, all based upon several different factors that are really easy when you actually get to grips with this, okay? So if you're performing a reading with the moon and it appears in the present position, the information that you're being given might not make sense. Or the person that you're reading for is going, oh no, it just means inner reflection. Have a look at how you're feeling about the outside influences. So, you know, if you like, look at me. How do you think I felt this week about the fact that every piece of work I did just disappeared? And I had to try and find it all, bring it all back. Everything's freezing, everything's spinning, everything's crashing. It's frustrating. But it was like, okay, I'll have to sort it, won't I? And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Tomorrow's another day. And normally I'm not like that. I just knew I had to go with that. When I say I'm not normally like that, normally I am a little bit more, come on, I've got to get it going. I just, yeah, did what I had to do. There were other priorities going on. And it's like, okay, this will settle down, you know. And we had no power today at all from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's a long time. Remember, your phone's lost charge, you can't do anything, so I had to keep my phone for the clients. Then it came back on, and then it was a case of it was later than they said, so that didn't work well. So yeah, I expected things to be a little bit off. It is what it is. Sometimes when you get a reading where, or you're reading for someone, and you're not sure, and the moon cards come up, and you're really feeling unsure, maybe you need to rephrase your question. So you can restate your question with a slightly different phrasing or focus. You know, what do I need to know about how to handle what's going on? That would have been a better one instead of, why is it happening to me? You know, because that might not make sense. All right. Sometimes small changes in how we ask something can really clear the way for us and give us a much greater focus. Focus on the smaller picture. You know, if the reading feels too broad, try focusing on areas of your life. And what I mean by that is maybe your love, maybe your relationship, maybe your friendships, your general well-being, your career, finances, you know, all the things that actually make us go, well, what's going on? Reflect on timing. That's a good one. Ask yourself, is there a reason that all this information might not feel clear to me right now? Do you know what? sometimes things need to unfold before the implications of a reading can make sense. And so that's why having more cards out makes the difference, because you're not just going, oh, I'm stuck with this one card. That's why, even in a 10-minute reading, and I do anything from 10 minutes with people, which is very rare, but I do have one or two that kind of come in on their tea break, that's why I do them. Much more likely to be there for an hour and more. What I'm saying is, despite the amount of time I've got with them, I would not dream of putting out less cards. And I put 44 cards out, and if they don't like it, they won't come back, will they? And I don't take my time and drag it out. We are straight in, shuffling. You know, I'll say, right, I'm going to shuffle, this is what I'm going to do. And as soon as that's done, that's like putting the cards out for me. Would you like to tell me sort of anything while I'm putting these out? And I don't start until all the cards are out. And I don't just sit there examining and picking out. Once I've actually put it out, you'd be surprised how it all makes sense, because it's all gelling together. So sometimes you don't need to focus on, I will certainly, even in a 5.5 hour reading, I think is, I don't know if I've done 6 hours, I can't remember, something like that, on a regular basis, and I do mean that. Why? Because once people have got you, they've got a million burning questions that they need the answers to be able to actually navigate the problems in their life. They've got a lot of responsibilities as human beings to others because of their career, etc., etc. And they're trying to keep the balance and look at the bigger picture, almost like they come to a reading as if they want to see everything from a hot air balloon and look down and see what's going on. So that's truly important. Any questions, anybody? I know this is quite a difficult one, but it is a nice one. You know, fear can be the major thing that you'll pick up from this card. But your second card, i.e. the minor card, which we're doing on Tuesdays, don't miss that one, will tell you what the fears are about. And that might be their overthinking, it might be the sleepless nights, it might be the past, it might be there's a very similar feeling between fear and excitement, don't you think? And fear can cloud our judgment. And that's how we can actually go, right, I'm not seeing everything. It's not leading to that clarity. So old patterns can cause us to get stuck in a cycle. And when this happens, we've got to break that cycle and remind ourselves, what's going on. Each new situation needs to be approached on its own merits. And this is a card that signifies you're going through a transitional period. And because of that, of course there's confusion, because you're not there yet. And that's what's happening. So it's a temporary phase and it will pass. That's what I was saying, you can react, and you're quite at liberty to react if that's what you want to, but is it going to be helpful to you? Or yes, it might be, no, it might not be. How are you dealing with what's going on outside? So events can be unpredictable and inconsistent when we get this card coming up, especially if it's coming up in the person's emotions or their mental self. Not so much the physical, because the physical is actually what they're up to, their actions they're taking. They might be confusing, but the minor card will tell you in what area. There might be confusion perhaps in their emotions towards themselves or to others. So you can get stuck in sort of repeated cycles. So it's good to identify old or recurring patterns in your behaviours, and you might get really intense emotions that really spark fear, but fear and excitement can also feel the same, don't you think? It's a bit like in a spread. We've got a position that talks about our hopes and our fears. Well, that's one position, and how could it be that what we are looking at is a hope and a fear? Because what we're hoping for, we fear it won't happen. So we can look at it there and go, so if the moon card came up there, That'll be perfect. Ah, I can understand. An absolutely brilliant point. Yep, absolutely brilliant point. Sorry, I'm trying to bring a comment on. So Anne's saying that when she first started studying and pulling cards, she feared the moon card. And once she realised the meaning, it made sense. Yeah, it's the watery world of Pisces, and the crayfish coming up. And, there's the towers in the background, isn't it? Representing so many things. I wish I had a bit more time tonight. I'm actually going to be dashing off myself. I've got a course in numerology. So you'll get the benefit of all of that, and that'll be starting on the hour. So I've got to make sure that I pull away in time. So absolutely, Anne, it makes perfect sense, passionate Saji, sorry, that the influence can make us feel that we've got monstrous thoughts that's blinding us from the truth, and the influences we're struggling to make sound decisions. Our actions become confusing, and you know what? The effect that it leaves us is we feel irrational, isolated, vulnerable, frustrated. Our imagination's running wild. It makes even more challenging sort of times for us when we're trying to make wise choices. So waiting for clarity is definitely the way to go. And it's essential to choose your battles wisely at this time, especially regarding matters of trust. I've mentioned I had a reading this week and she was looking for peace of mind. She's in a battle. She needs to focus on the battle. That's not because she's created it, it's because it's been created, and she's got to reflect on how she feels about the situation, so that, as a senior in her role, she is aware of all the background effects, as it were. So it wasn't a time to be able to say at the end of the day that she could chill out. She wanted to, but the moon wasn't letting her. It was saying you've got to look at how you really feel here. There's a lot of clues in that. Exhaustion can make us go, I don't want to. But if it's necessary for us to gain some intuition and shed some light on the situation, it's really a good place to be. Even though we might need to wait to act on that while we're feeling more stable and more settled, we need to practice and prioritise self-care. So in our moon card, we're seeing that full moon in the night sky, and it's positioned between the two large towers. And the moon's a symbol of our intuition, dreams, and the unconscious mind. Its light's dimmed compared to the sun and only slightly illuminates that path to our higher consciousness, which winds between those two towers. And in the foreground, there's a small pool there, and that represents the watery subconscious mind. The small crayfish is crawling out of the pool. That symbolises the early stages of consciousness unfolding. And we've got a dog and a wolf standing on the grassy field, howling at the moon. This represents the tamed and the wild aspects of our mind. So there is an awful lot that goes on with that particular card, isn't it? Remember, the moon represents our fear and our illusions. It can come when we are projecting the fear that we have in our present, which was based on our past experience. And these emotions can reappear. So it's like a reflection of the inner self, which is emerging. And the moon represents the shadow of our self, the unconscious mind. And the theme of the moon is constant change, cycles. Trust that your intuition is strong, a sense of needing to be protected. That's why there's forming a tough outer shell, a bit like that crayfish. So the moon can indicate a time of illusion and delusion, where nothing is what it seems. Okay, so I'm going to be wrapping this up fairly soon. Thank you so much. But let's just bring this on. This is great. I want you to see this, okay? So you can keep that as in a few keywords there. Now, this is what I want you to have a look at, which is a video that I made of the cards that I use that are all moon cards. Have a look at them. Okay, I hope you enjoy this, okay? What did you think of that? Aren't they gorgeous? All of them. Some would be really useful to read from based on the Rider-Waite. The one that you can see on the right is Rider-Waite there. And I gave you a lot of symbology about that, you know. So much going on with that card. It's a really beautiful card. Think that it connects to our emotional self and how that can be triggered because of outside influences that can make that we are not making sense of our thoughts, our fears, usually based on past experiences, or that we're being triggered by other people, and emotionally we are feeling we're reacting within ourselves, at odds with ourselves, or we're fearful, or we're excited, or we're nervous. It can just do all of that. And when it happens, go within yourself, you know, just try and connect with yourself. What would I say? Go for a walk, connect with nature, rest. Just let your thoughts roll. Let it happen. What messages come? What's it telling you to do? Is it telling you to actually think about what's happening, or to actually think about why are you feeling like this? Don't ignore it, okay? It's a beautiful card, really, and it's there as your inner light to help you express your human spirit. So the minor card will always tell you what's going on. The position will always tell you the area of your life that it's affecting. So I'm going to very quickly show you the website, and then this. Okay, so this is where you can actually find the courses, and it's on my website, Tarot with Anne-Marie. So you can start from the very beginning and learn all of your major cards, as in Tarot Mastery. The other courses that I have for you are all the different suits, including the intermediate here. So if you want to take it into a new level, the suits and the court cards. I divided them separately because they're the ones that people often say, I don't know how to deal with them. The advanced is the next part of advancing more cards into the spread. This is where you'll learn about countries and timing and different areas, local things, planets, how you can actually be absolutely certain about work, career, finances, the self, the well-being, the cups, the beautiful cup family. Isn't that just one of the best in the tarot? I love the cups, all about our emotions. And so that brings us to the end. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the moon with me tonight, Anne-Marie, and I'm sorry about the technical things that happened right at the beginning. This will be recorded, as you know, and yeah, things are not running as smoothly as I actually set them up to do, but hey ho! Maybe the moon was influencing all of that I'm putting together. So maybe it was a perfect example of, okay, just got to go with it, haven't we? Maybe it was meant to be softer and a little less planned. Until next time, everybody, thanks for watching. I'll see you on Tuesday when we are pairing the cards with the moon. So there's 56 different ways of interpreting the moon. Don't miss a thing, and you can always watch right at the beginning, a Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, whichever you want, okay? It's all there on my Tarot with Anne-Marie YouTube channel. Until next time, please do take care, and thank you so much for your time watching this and for your lovely comments. I do appreciate you all, and I look forward to your company on Tuesday. Till then, bye for now.